Hi, I'm Erin Buffuno. Again, I'm a physical therapist with Freedom Physical Therapy Services, and today I'm going through T for the ABCs of PT, and I'm going to be talking about some exercises with Therabands. So if you were to purchase any Theraband or resistive exercise band, they can be, of course, from a different company, different brand, but we generally utilize the Theraband company. So what I talk about today in terms of resistance and what colors they are might be different depending on the kind that you have. So what I say is not it's not across the board for every single company, but at least for the bands that we have here and that I'll be using today, that's kind of how it goes. So with the Therabands, they can be cut in multiple different lengths, and they do have different resistances. So when we generally give them to a patient, they'll be untied unless we specifically want them tied for a specific reason. So there are multiple different colors, like I said, that do denote a different resistance. So yellow is the lightest, red is the next one, and then we have green, which is kind of more of a middle ground. And then the last two are blue, which again is a little tougher, and then black, and then one more is silver. So those ones are the thickest ones that we have. It's more on this darker end, and then the lighter end is a little bit easier. So again, you can utilize them in multiple different ways, where you can just use them in freestanding. You can attach them to a door, where if you're attaching it to a door handle, just make sure the door is locked. Maybe someone knows you're doing it so they don't open the door while you're trying to have it attached to a door handle so you don't go flying or the band doesn't hit you in the face. And then the last piece too would be to just check the Therabands you have before using them. They can dry out, which then can lead to some cracking, which then of course makes them at risk to snap while you're using them, which we just don't want you to get, again, hit in the face, anything hit in the eye, or harm yourself in the process of trying to help yourself get better. So what I'm going to go through today are a couple different exercises that you can utilize the Therabands for basically a full body workout, hitting on some of the main postural groups and some of the main lower extremity or leg muscles that you use during the day. So the first exercise I like to give people is for postural strengthening. So much of what we do during the day is forward, whether we're sitting on a computer, reading, looking at our phones, driving, walking, everything we do is forward. So we tend to have this forward posture, which leads to some stretching and weakness of the muscles in the back of our shoulder blades. So this exercise, I tell people to hold the band with palms up, and I say thumbs out. It just creates a little bit more opening in the shoulders, so you're less likely to have some shoulder pain. With your elbows tucked in by your side, and then from here, you're just going to open and close. So you can do this exercise. There's a couple different ways where you can do it wrong, but usually I'll tell people is make sure you think of opening through your shoulder blades. Is I can do it this way, where if you watch my shoulder, if I don't move my shoulder blades in the back, my shoulders pop forward, which then is only going to aggravate muscles of your rotator cuff if you're familiar with those, or again, just keeps promoting this tightness or roundedness in the front. So you want to think of really taking those shoulder blades, squeezing them back together, either like you're trying to pinch them together, or I say like you're trying to crack a walnut back there. So with this one, again, just up nice and tall, opening your shoulders, and then nice, slow, and controlled. Again, usually with any of these exercises, a good 2 sets of 15 or 3 sets of 10 can be a good option. You just want to feel like you've done something in your last 3 to 5 repetitions. If it doesn't feel like it's difficult, then you probably need to have a little bit more resistance, or maybe add a couple more reps. But if you're doing about 20 repetitions, it's probably a little too much and you need to up your resistance a little bit. So that's the first one, where it's just external rotation through the shoulder to help with some of your postural muscles in the back. So now I'm just going to up the band because I know that was a little too easy. So now I'm going to go into another shoulder muscle here. So this is one where you can just take and you can either wrap it around a banister if it's sturdy, or you can tie a little hole in it and sneak it into a doorknob. But I'm just going to put it around this little rail here. So this is just a standard row, where you're going to hold on to the band and stand up nice and tall, and you're going to focus again on squeezing your shoulder blades back and then relax. So this not only is working your shoulder blade muscles, some of your rotator cuff muscles, but you're actually getting some work in through your biceps. But it's also a slight balance exercise too, because otherwise the band can pull you forward. So you really want to make sure you have a good steady base. So from here again, you're just going to pull back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, and really watch what your elbow is doing. What I see a lot of people doing when they come in here and show me a row, if they've been doing it at the gym or doing it on their own, that they're doing it like this. So if you can watch that line of my shoulder again, glutes coming forward, which that's the one thing that we really want to watch, because again, that's really putting some extra strain on the rotator cuff musculature, but then is really not strengthening the back muscles. It's just, again, promoting that forward position. So elbow only comes to the side, and then really focus on that squeeze back position of your shoulder blades. So that's number 2. So now the next one, we're going to kind of change direction here. We're going to go towards the lower legs. So one of my favorite exercises to do, which I'll just go up one, is a monster walk. So this starts to work on strengthening through the hip musculature. So the big glutes on the side and in the back. So I will give people either a full long one like this, or you can also utilize, I think I dropped it here, is as a circle one. So you can slide this one and just loop it through, so you don't have to worry about tying it. But just for multi-use and without having too much stuff at home, you can just use one and tie it. So you'll just either have people start with the band around your knees or around your ankles. I generally will start the band above the knees just to help people get comfortable with the position, because the whole point of this exercise is sidestepping, but sidestepping with your knees in line with your ankles, in line with your hips. You want everything to be in line. For females, unfortunately, we generally tend to have a little bit of weakness in the hips, so we have this natural tendency to have our knees collapse inward. So we really want to work on those hip muscles to pull our knees out so everything is nice and in line. So this is where the band really comes in handy. So I'm just going to tie this around here. So I'll have people tie it together with their feet together, because if you do it too wide, the band will generally slide down. So you want to tie it together with your feet together. And then just make sure you don't have a piece that's too long for you to trip on. You want to make sure it's up off the ground. And now from here, you're just going to have a slight bend in your knees. I always have my hands up here. You can have your arms relaxed down by your side. Just make sure you again have that good posture, not rounded forward. And you're going to take a nice controlled step out, and then small step in. As if you come in too much, now there's no resistance on the band, which then takes away the effort. So you want to keep always at the minimum your feet at hips width apart. So step wider than your hips to your hips. So with this one, again, we're watching to make sure this is not happening. We're trying to prevent this. So you want to think of pulling the knees wide, again, keeping them in line with your ankles. And with this one is, I generally do more of a total time instead of total repetitions. So I will tell people to start with 1 minute. This one generally can be pretty difficult. So 1 minute, you will feel a pretty good burn in your glute muscles. So a lot of people think your glutes are just back here, but your glutes wrap all the way around to the sides of your legs. So I have quite a few people that do feel pain, not pain, but at least muscular soreness along the seam of your pants. So you do have glute muscles that do travel in that direction, and those are the ones we're actually really targeting with the monster walk. So it is possible for you to feel more symptoms here, maybe even into the sides of your legs, versus thinking where your butt muscles really are when you think of them in your head. So actually, the last one is, I'm going to put this band back on, but I'll show it to you with the rounded piece. So this one here, again, that you will just slide it on. And I always tell people to do it seated. It's just a little bit safer. And again, we're going to put it up above the knees. But now you can make that task that we just did a little bit more functional. And functional meaning, how does it apply to my daily life? Is as I'm working with not only some of my younger athletes that have just weak hips as they're going through big growth spurts, or just, again, females, we have wider hips and narrower at the feet, so again, just more bias towards weakness in the hips and that knee collapse, but also some of my older patients that are maybe having a little harder time getting out of a chair. This is a good exercise to help work on strengthening the lower leg muscles and the good stability muscles of the hip to help you get out of a chair. So with this one, I do like to have, again, a chair with armrests, especially just to give your legs help a couple of times while you do it, unless you are able to get out of a chair normally without a hand assist. So with this one, again, the band is going to be trying to pull your knees in, but you want to keep your knees in line with your ankles and your hips. So from here, all you're going to do is just do a chair squat. So you're just squatting back, sitting your butt down to the chair, and then standing up. So this is a little bit more of a narrowed stance that I'm showing now. So this could be a little bit more challenging in terms of balance, but it's not going to be as challenging in terms of the resistance band. So then you can widen your hips to make it a little bit more difficult, but then a little bit more relevant to maybe squat technique or squat form. But also if you're an older individual just looking more for increased stability, increased balance to work on getting out of a chair, it's a good option for that as well. So now from here again, I'm just going to squat back, keeping that good lower leg position, and then stand up, making sure that throughout the entire squat, I'm not collapsing it. But then again, too, just make sure you have a good stable chair, that it's not sliding on anything, and that you're not on it, maybe like a rug or something that can slide out from underneath you. So then the last option we have can be some exercises for your foot and ankle. So one nice and easy thing you can do if you have a longer band is just wrap it around your foot. And this is like doing a heel raise and standing, but if maybe you're not strong enough to do so, maybe you have some history of Achilles tendon issues and you want to work on some strengthening, but maybe you don't want to push the envelope too much because you're just not sure how it'll respond, then you can sit with your leg out in front of you, or you can rest it out on a surface, and then you can just do some pointed ankle movements. Again, just mostly working on that calf position. But you also can modify and do multiple different directions. So this is just working on the calf musculature and some other legs that are in the lower leg, but now I can use my other leg. So if you have a history of sprained ankles or some ankle instability, I can now stabilize part of that band with my other foot. And now this foot is doing all the work here, so now I'm taking that leg and turning it out to the side. So now I'm working on all the muscles that help stabilize that outside or the lateral portion of my ankle, where again, if you have any history of instability, ankle sprains, this would be a good option for that. So those are just a few of some of the kind of good exercises, I would say relatively easy ones that you can do at home where you don't need a lot of equipment to be able to do them. But the importance is resistance, is if you're doing a strengthening exercise, you don't necessarily want to be doing a heavy strength training or something that's very difficult in your last couple reps every day of the week. So you really want to think of going towards maybe 3-4 days a week, doing exercises that are challenging in terms of muscular fatigue, or just like you just feel that muscular tiredness, because it is normal to have some soreness after you have any sort of increased exercise or increased resistance. So if you were to do it every day, your body's just getting pushed into that soreness every day, and then you never really have that moment where you feel like, man, I just feel good because I'm doing more, I just feel sore because I'm doing more. So you want to find that good balance between difficult, but not too difficult, but then making sure again that you would do it only about 3 to 4 days a week. Stretching, other activities like that are very important to do every day, but when it comes in strengthening, you want to kind of back it down, and then find a good resistance where the last 2 to 5 repetitions feel like they're challenging, but that you're not failing at the exercise. You're able to maintain good posture, good form, because that's the way that you're going to get better. So that's it for today, and enjoy the sun while we have it.